you, Evan. That was the sexiest thing I've ever heard in my life. Am I heard?
You're really loud.
Is the camera rolling? Hi, Mom. I'm sorry. She still thinks I'm in law school. Alright. So, I'm going to read 4 pieces. Wait, is this good? Okay.
Actually, no, it's not.
Maybe a little bit.
I'm going to read loud as hell. So, this is, I'm going to read 4 pieces. They're all the same narrator, this guy named Bobby. And I'll tell you the rest as I go on. Tell me a secret, Natasha said, climbing the front seat of my pickup. All right, I said, letting my free arm fall across her bare shoulders. I hated secrets. As a child, I feared them. Not that I cared about secrets being withheld from me. I was worried that I would get hold of a secret and have to burn it for a while, as though the secret was something that lodged itself in your chest like an owl, and that it might even hurt to hold it in after long enough. I'm in love with you, Natasha, I said. That is no secret, she screamed, flicking the corner of my ear. We like to fight a lot, tearing each other to shreds and gathering up the pieces before dinner. She didn't just call you an asshole or kick you in the shin. She had to say that you were sucking away her soul or dragging her through a cold void. It reminded me of this game I played as a kid. One boy held a pellet gun, the other stood in front of him. One counted to 5, the other backpedaled as far as he could in a straight line. At 5 came the pellets, ripping up your new haircut, painting chests with violet welts. There's a wart on my cock, I told her once. That's a good secret. A wart? Right on the tip beside the mouth. Let me see, she said, cleaning up both hands as she closed the gap between us and the truck. I held the steering wheel with one hand, digging myself out with the other. Huh, she said, rubbing the tip with her thumb. I knew I could feel something. I nodded sympathetically. We could burn it away, she said, licking her lips. But it feels so good. You think it feels good? I think it adds something, she said. I put my hand on her head to stroke her hair, but she swatted it away. It feels like your penis is winking at me, she said, staring intently at my lap. The wart is very distinctive, like Marilyn Monroe's mole. Marilyn Monroe? Yeah, she has this mole on her right cheek. They gave me medicine for it, I said helpfully. It comes in a tube. No, she said, looking up at me. It needs a coaching needle. Alright, this is called Martin. I met Martin working on bridges. The first thing I'll say is that Martin was not a small man. His hair was blonde and rank, and he had this way of fluttering his eyelids when he spoke, as though every word cast a spell that might change him forever. His muscles bulged, and he could lift great beams and shoulder them along highways while whistling. The first time I met him, we were setting down a guardrail on a bridge. A group of nails was arranged, and my hammer was in the truck. I went to get it, but Martin stopped me. He frowned at the nails and set his thumb on each one, pushing impatiently through the metal. Thanks, I called, but his muffs were back on, and he could not hear me. Martin operated the jackhammer. His hands were steady, and the drill didn't buck wildly like it did with the boys that signed up clean out of high school. He could drill through the ground quickly, allowing the dirt to build up in neat piles alongside the jack as it tore through the asphalt. The other thing about Martin is that he wanted to be a woman. He got a clit and everything from a young Bolivian doctor. The procedure cost $20,000, money he'd saved working on bridges and patching up shoring cracks, and living with his mother in a 2-bedroom by the volunteer fire department. He liked to sit on the bridges in the mornings, arriving early with a bandana full of apples he kept in his jacket pocket. He sat on the bridges, swinging his feet back and forth, dropping the cords in the water and watching them bob away before work. He would ask me questions like, have you ever made love in a forest? No, I usually said. I haven't done that. The trees and the rocks, he would say, everything chirping at you. And what about the cold, I'd ask. He talked about going out after work to walk the Camden streets. I want to be one of those ladies in a nightclub, he said once, wistfully. A nightclub? Just one of them girls, he said, them girls with them drinks. His smell was a combination of sweat and rose water. We were usually the last 2 on any job, fixing up concrete, dumping paint into Delaware and watching it spiral and dissolve until only a yellow cloud was left to sit along with the current. I asked him about his clip only once. Do you want to see it, he said, removing his helmet and settling it down by his boots. I nodded. His pants were crowding his ankles as the sun came up. The bridge was sectioned off with broken guardrail from a safety ramp. The tube stood in the center of the bridge, the Delaware a thick mess of black beneath us. I was fingering his clitoris. I remember at first doing it sort of exploratorily, if you want to know the truth. It wasn't often I got to inspect a clitoris that was designed and put together. I wondered if there were blueprints for it, if a clitoris was first drawn out by hand by someone in a lab coat, if there were papers in a drawer somewhere labeled Martin's clitoris. I left my glasses in the truck and I remember feeling sort of sorry that I had, because the clitoris sure looked like a clitoris, but had a wax feel, like I was stroking the spirals of a birthday candle. I had to see with the tip of my index finger, probing around carefully. I wanted to say something about the clitoris, something like, I am proud of this clitoris. But no words came, and I chose to murmur the occasional as the sun rose and the finger was inside my friend. I can come in everything, Martin said, spreading his new lips apart with both hands. This struck me as such a manly gesture that I could not help but laugh. He hugged me close to his chest, and I felt his breath in my ear. He started to unbutton my fly, but I held his hand and stopped him. That's all right, Martin, I said. That won't be necessary. I'm sorry, he said, nibbling a little on my ear. He felt nice there for a minute. I let him hold me, arms at my sides. He gave me the bandana from his jacket pocket for me to wipe my hand. Looks good, I said, stroking his shoulder. Thanks, Bobby, he said, prepping his jaw for the day's work. You were a kind soul. Alright, these two sections are from a different short story, same narrator. The narrator's brother's name is Bill, and Bill has gotten 2 girls pregnant. One is called Nora, and the other one doesn't have a name. Her name is Black Underwear. It's called Clinic. My brother and I had gone to Dr. Bledsoe all our lives and would continue to do just that. He was a dentist before switching to abortions. His wife's inheritance came through back in Missouri. Her parents left her the whole ranch, and she packed her stuff up in 2 large trunks and left him drilling infant molars and telling children to spit. The dark period, he liked to say, shining his mirrors against his lab coat. The back office was cramped and brightly lit with green walls and a small radio shaped like a pineapple going at low volume on one of the countertops. I wanted to put women in stirrups, the doctor said, ushering the girls to the doorway, one of the little screaming. My brother filed in behind them and shrugged off their protests at his presence. The door closed and echoed through the hallway in a manner that made me feel strapped for spare parts. I leaned against the wall outside and listened as best I could. After a while, I could hear my brother arguing with Nora. She was just over 8 weeks, which meant an extra $46 at least. It'll be even more if we wait, she said. I don't have it right now. My brother cursed loudly, beating his fists on the countertops. The other girl was laughing and slapping her knee from the sound of it, like she'd won. When it was all performed and over with, the girls came out slowly, wobbling and crying, and I helped my brother pack them to the back seat of his Buick. I climbed into the passenger seat and the 4 of us started off into the future. Well, my brother said, looking in the rear view, how was it? They split me in half, Nora said. I feel like the other half is out in the world someplace. I don't think so, Bill said, fiddling with the radio. This is the talking half, Nora said. The quiet half is still in the office back there. Black Underwear said nothing and peered out her window. I wanted to know what she saw up there, if there were trees and rocks and squatchy bedrooms stitched together with aluminum siding, or if she saw what I thought she saw. Spirits in the fields close by, clawing one another and gnashing teeth while more formed a circle together and whistled through broken pipe. I started whistling there in the car. The landscape out the windows was bleak in reality, and the whole ride started to feel like one long power line. Hey, Black Underwear said, nudging my shoulder. I don't know how to do that. How what? How to whistle, she said, puckering up. I twisted around in the seat and instructed her gravely, showing her how to shape the lips and where to place the tongue. She pushed some air out and smiled at me. My brother rubbed his eyes with his right hand, keeping the car steady with his left. He wanted to take us for burgers, but when we arrived at the diner, the girls clutched their stomachs and shook their heads. The 2 of us ate in silence up front while the girls leaned against one another in the back seat, pursing their lips, trying to whistle as well as I had done earlier. No, I kept saying, looking in the rear view, like this, but it was no use trying to teach them. And the truth is that I gave up on the both of them for the remainder of it all. This last one's called The Pond, and later on in the story, Bill and the narrator, Bobby, they decided to go ice fishing after the abortions take place. The pond is located on the edge of the Pine Barrens. There wasn't a soul around to protest our actions, and both docks were chained off with signs visible in the truck's headlights until spring. Salivating Christ, Bill said, adjusting his gloves. My hands are on fire out here. A cluster of skeletal blueberry bushes shivered in the pond. He wandered over and picked the straggling fruits off the vine, thawing them under his tongue. I will regret this, he said, patting his stomach, mouth purple as a bruise. I dipped my toe in the frost of the pond, and the lair felt strong enough to serve as the floor of the dance hall. The trees around the water shifted in the wind, making the whole area appear to breathe. Bill tore the back of the truck open and hauled out 2 lawn chairs. I came prepared, he said, flinging them onto the ice. We walked carefully over the ice and stood for a moment, shocked by the cold, everything around us lingering and chilled from the inside. There were dollars of snow falling from a long canvas of clouds, and we weren't sure whether to run from them or wait patiently while they erased us completely. The chosen compromise was to move forward slowly and catch the flakes with our tongues in silence. This escalated until we were moving fast toward the chairs, clutching our soaked jeans at the waist to keep them from sinking below our manhoods. We flicked our tongues like 2 creatures dependent on taste to learn, trying to take in and accept all the facts presented. There is nothing like this, Bill said. I feel very current. The 2 of us huddled together in the chairs of the pond, certain we had both gone on feeling in the cold, now relying on one another for a confirmed sense of touch. I'm saving the money to jump off the waterfall, Bill said, drumming his fingers on the rods. The words were not breaking through the barriers of my mind, and I stared at him. There are waterfalls in Central America, he said, deep in the brush. Some are so high up you can black out before hitting the rocks. Where's this coming from, I said. This is coming from my mouth, he said, from deep in my mind. This is only the cold, I said. I want to grab at the clouds, he said. The clouds? I don't know, he said. I like to savor these thoughts. He rummaged around the chairs for a minute, stricken with fear. Where's my Bible, he shouted. I brushed some snow from the cover and handed it to him. It was keeping my hands warm, I said. He snatched it and began to scour the pages looking for a mark. The Lord is my shepherd, he began, standing from the chair. I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me to quiet waters. Amen, I shouted. I like that, he said, looking up at me. Quiet waters. His rod began to stir, beating steadily against the lawn chairs. It is time, he said, holding the rod soberly in his hands. The stirring stopped and the rod sunk as though some power had granted it permission to die. Shit, Bill said. He kicked his chair, sending it whirling a few feet from the hole. How many bloodworms left? Not a whole lot, he said, dumping the remainder of the bag over the hole in senseless fashion. We stared again at the water, ready to surrender ourselves to the hole we made in the ice. Brook trout emerged from the hole, flopping along the snow at our feet. Bill stomped until the flopping stopped, and together we looked incredulously at the thing he had killed. A good size, he said, peeling it from the ice and holding it out in his hand like a torch. Another fish sprouted, as well as several more, flowing up from the hole with intense speed. We stopped at them blindly. The pond was surging under our boots, begging for death as the sun cropped up through the trees. I stacked the fish neatly on the floor of the truck while Bill got the engine started, both of us feeling hot and useful in the early morning air. The ground opened up, Bill said reverently. The gift was presented. We shouted in the truck at the beauty of our prospects. It was like we could sing, you know? Like we went all our lives not knowing we could sing. And someone stepped on our toes or something. Some wire was crossed.